So, quick story. When I was 6 years old, my dad set me down and explained to me that he only had a couple of years left to live. This was a very impactful time in my life, of course, but also very impactful for my dad. I want you to imagine a 27-year-old guy, young, Hodgkin's lymphoma. He had been battling it for several years. It's partly why I don't have any siblings. He had been battling since I was very young. And he got the very grave news that he was going to only have it's likely that he would only have a couple of years left to live. So think about that from his perspective. He's got this 6-year-old son, and, I have to admit, I was a pretty cool son, but he now had to, in his mind, impart all of his years of wisdom of how to be a man into this 6-year-old boy. And he had a couple of years to do it in his mind. So he taught me a ton during those years, really taught me a ton. But three things particular come to mind that's relevant for this course and for you guys. The first thing that he taught me and went out of his way to tell me all the time was, son, if you're going to do anything in life, make sure you make a difference. So make a difference was the first thing he taught me. And I'll never forget when I was maybe 3 or 4, he asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. And my answer was, I wanted to be a trash man. I wanted to be a trash man primarily because they got to ride off the back of trucks and they got to wear gloves every day. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And I'll never forget my dad saying, hey, son, if you're going to be a trash man, I just want you to be the best trash man ever. I want you to make a difference as a trash man. So no matter what I said I wanted to be when I grew up, he always landed it with make a difference. The second thing he was big on was being bold. So he would tell me I'd be in sports. I remember being in sports and he'd be the guy on the sideline, woo, 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 going crazy and being very bold. But he wanted me to be bold in sports. And then later in life, I worked for a company called Boston Scientific. They're a medical device company, and I was in sales. Very stodgy sales organization. We had a event in Florida, a big conference, probably 300, 400 salespeople and all the regionals and all that stuff in attendance. And this was a very stodgy sales organization. They basically wore blue suits or gray suits with white shirts. They didn't even wear blue shirts. They were very stodgy. And I showed up at the Contemporary in Orlando at the sales meeting in a Florida. I lived in Florida at the time, and it was hot. So I showed up in a Florida linen suit. It was a very light gray linen suit with a pink shirt and a matching tie. And I stuck out like a sore thumb, to say the least. And I'll never forget my boss's boss comes over and he goes, "You're embarrassing me. Go change." And that's the day I knew I shouldn't be working for Boston Scientific. And I didn't change, actually. But my dad's voice in the back of my head, be bold, was just be bold. So number 1, make a difference. Number 2, be bold. And I could tell you story after story. Number 3 was do it right. He would always say, do it right. And I remember doing a puzzle, or I would get frustrated with something very young. And he would always say, oh, son, if you're going to do something at all, if you're going to do anything at all, make sure you do it right. And later on in life, when I would work on a car and I didn't have time to do it perfectly, I would always remind myself, my dad would say, do it right. And I'm cutting the lawn and I'd miss an edge or not feel like I have enough time to do the edging. And it would always pop up in my head, do it right. And so I'd always make the time to do it a little bit better, do it right. So my dad really made a difference on me and in a big way all over the place. But those 3 things, make a difference, be bold, do it right, are what I want to talk to you about today, because I think it's relevant to the club and what we're trying to do here at Find a Way Club. So first and foremost, a lot of people in my life have made a difference, and I've had a lot of heroes, and a lot of the folks on this sheet have been heroes for me. Abe Lincoln, I love this quote. Whenever I hear anyone arguing for slavery, I feel a strong impulse to see it tried on him personally. So someone who really fought for his convictions and made a huge, huge difference in the history of the United States. Elon Musk, I'm a huge Elon Musk fan. I think that you may not know it, but the reason he's doing everything is because he thinks we need a plan B for the planet, and he thinks that plan A is Mars. So everything from Tesla to solar panels to SpaceX, it's all about getting to Mars. And I think his big vision inspires the heck out of me. And many would attest that he is truly making a difference each and every day. Steve Jobs, democratizing creativity, making it easy, drop dead easy for people to have access to technology in a way that they can utilize. Big dent. Of course, Martin Luther King, in terms of what he did for the civil rights movement, and Sheryl Sandberg. If you haven't seen what she's doing personally in her life, you should look into that. But she this quote is amazing from her, is the ultimate luxury to combine passion and contribution. It's also a very clear path to happiness, and I believe that with all my heart. When you're in alignment with your purpose, or when you're in alignment with that difference you're supposed to be making on this planet, everything seems to work better and easier, and I'm a huge, huge believer in that. One of the most recent examples of that was my time at Megafood. I was truly blessed to be the CEO there for 8 years. And many would say that we tried hard to make a difference as a company. And although in a few sessions down the road, we're going to talk about why we exist and talk about mission statements and things like that, I thought that I would just use this as a quick example. At Megafood, we existed to nourish a world in nutritional crisis. We envisioned a world without nutritional poverty, a planet where everyone is truly nourished. We work hard and take bold action to ensure that vision becomes a reality in our lifetime. And I think this is a good transition to be bold, which is number 2, right? Make a difference, be bold. When you start using words like nutritional crisis and poverty and do something in our lifetime to create some urgency around it, we felt like that was all about being bold while we were also trying to make a difference. And it takes some courage to get there, which we'll talk about in a minute. So Dad's number 1 was make a difference. His number 2 was be bold. I'm pretty certain that B Corps, all B Corps, are bold in some way. So I'm a huge fan of B corporations. I've had the pleasure of helping to build 3 B corporations over the last 20 years. And if you're not familiar with what a B corporation is, let me just kind of read their statement real quick. They're certified B corporations are businesses that meet the highest standards of verified social and environmental performance, public transparency, and legal accountability to balance profit and purpose, okay? So B Corps form a community of leaders and drive a global movement of people using business as a force for good. So if you haven't learned it already, that's what I'm all about, is trying to kind of create businesses as a force for good. So I think B Corps are typically very bold companies. You should learn into that. And just another quick example from Megafood, we were known for being bold at Megafood. We had live cameras throughout our facilities. We manufactured our own supplements. We made our own ingredients from fruits and vegetables. You can actually see that 24/7 live on the cameras, and I believe you still can at megafood.com. But we were the first to put cameras, and one of the only, I think, in the planet to put cameras in our facilities. Most people don't want to show you how the sausage is made, and we made it live 24/7 in a bid to go through what we were calling Big T transparency. Another thing I'm very proud of, and we'll talk about some of these things in deeper ways down the road in some sessions, is I hired a VP of social impact, Sarah Newmark, who I love to death, and she came in and helped us lead an effort with companies like Danone and Ben & Jerry's and Annie's. Some would say we were punching way above our weight, but we were leaders with them on establishing regenerative agriculture in the space today, leading an effort to get glyphosate banned as a desiccant on oats. Hundreds of thousands of signatures. I mean, really activist as it relates to this. And again, we'll talk about this, but again, being bold, having the courage to be bold was number 2 for my dad. Make a difference, be bold. And the last was do it right. And a quick example from Megafood here is one of the things we aspired to, our biggest aspiration was to be known as the most trusted supplement brand. And we spent some time trying to figure out how to do that. How do we become most trusted? And we came up with these 3 kind of guiding light markers. One was to attain a best-in-class net promoter score of 9 or better. Many of you might know net promoter score as a real indicator of high customer service. It is the bar. So this was really focused on the customer. And we'll talk about this in another session, is, of course, attaining B Corp best of status. So best of B Corp was the best of the best. So we were able to look at the best of the best of B Corp and try to attain what they were doing was our goal. And that became a guiding light for how we thought about social responsibility. And then last but not least, being recognized broadly as a best place to work. We attained that goal in 2017 in New Hampshire, but our overall goal was to be consistently recognized on a national basis or even international as a best place to work, and that kept us really focused on our employees. So we put some real guiding light aspirations out there in order to keep us really focused on doing it right and making the right decisions day in and day out. And we were bold with this. We've made these public so that everybody around us, all our key stakeholders, could hold us accountable to it, including our employees. So very, very excited about that, and gives you some examples of my dad's advice, right? So some of you so far might be saying, why am I here? I don't get this. Maybe this isn't what you expected. Maybe you think it's too much, or we're going to talk a little bit about, if you feel like it's an overwhelming thing to try to build a business that makes a difference, hang in there with me and put a smile on your face and just kind of open your mind and let's go forward together so we can see if we can do this. And if you give me 8 weeks, I'm pretty sure we'll be able to get you there. The key thing that it takes to build a change the world brand or business is courage, especially if you're a founder or a CEO. Courage is key. And it took me 20 years of being a CEO to get to the point where I can say things like, I am a change the world CEO. But the courage basically is the ability to do something that frightens one. And I speak a lot about the amygdala. Many of you might know the amygdala, the lizard brain. It's that part of the brain that's there to, it's ego. It's there to make sure that we survive. Its whole function is to make sure we survive. So it makes things very scary. It tells stories in your head that aren't necessarily matched up to the facts. And I want us to talk about that. And it took me 20 years to put my toe in the water and then my foot in the water and my knee in the water and to have the courage to really drive this thing forward, to really try to make a difference with the brands that we built. And I want that for each and every one of you as well. Also, I'm seeing a big thing in the marketplace right now that I call the square spacization of entrepreneurship. I've seen 65 decks in the last 7 months in my role at Findaway Adventures. And all the websites, almost all of them look exactly the same. And it frustrates me that the founder's story is typically 3 links down below about us and maybe buried in the website somewhere. I've seen a few websites that really lead with the founder's story and that mission and that passion. But the square spacization of entrepreneurship says this is how you build a business and the way Squarespace might lay it out on your website. And I think that's BS. I'm here to blow that up and say that you got to lead with passion and a change the world mission, then all that other stuff follows. So we're going to talk more about that. And this club is specifically meant to support you as you wade into the water. Some of you may have more fear than others. Some of you may really worry about putting your toe in. Others may be ready to kind of take a big cannonball right into the deep end and go. And so the club is here to really help you go faster and put guardrails around that. And for those of you who just want to dip your toe in the water, the club is also here to give you more courage and encourage you as you move through this process. So no matter where you are on that fear spectrum, I'll call it, we're here to give you some more courage and advice and counsel, not just me, but everybody in the club is here to help support one another as we move more towards building a change the world business or brand. So my dad taught me a lot, but the 3 things that really stood out were make a difference, be bold, and do it right. And we're going to talk about those 3 things throughout the next 8 weeks in a big, big way. And, I've also, over the years, learned to bake my dad's advice into my own personal mission statement. So each and every day I look at a playbook. I look at a playbook every day that reminds me of why I'm on this planet. And I thought I would share my personal mission with you based on my dad's advice. I exist as a change the world CEO that teaches others to do the same. I have a real impact through those that I mentor. I'm the guy change the world entrepreneurs call when they are ready to scale their business. I'm spent the last 20 years being a CEO, surrounded by amazing, passionate people that wanted to change the world, and I played my part in that as a CEO. My next chapter in my life is to help as many CEOs as I possibly can, as many change the world founders, as many change the world teams, as many change the world leaders and entrepreneurs as I can to advance the ball and to make the world a better place. So that's my mission. That's why I'm on this planet. And as a part of that, I'm really, really blessed to be a part of Findaway Adventures. I met my partners almost 10 years ago, working with them through Mega Food. And when we came together to think about what we wanted to build in terms of an angel investment platform, we were so aligned, it was not even funny. So let me quickly read you the mission of Findaway Adventures. So the Findaway mission, Findaway Adventures exists to improve the world by providing more opportunity for young, change the world companies and their founders. Change the world companies and their founders. That's a criteria for us. We bring money, strategy, and retail expertise to help accelerate young, impactful CPG companies primarily, although the principles here, if you're not a CPG company, these principles apply to you as well. For this, we take equity stakes in companies, helping them bridge the gap between friends and family money and next level venture capital. So we typically play in the pre-money to $10 million range. We've called it an angel investment, hands-on angel investment platform is really what we're trying to do at Findaway Adventures. So welcome.